Good morning to you all here at Web and attending online. I'd like to start by thanking all of those that have made this event possible, starting with those hosting and coordinating, Web Institute and the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, and supporting sponsors Wind Support and Marin. I see from this event's agenda that there is no shortage of innovative and creative designs and ideas on how to decarbonize marine transportation. Let's do a check on where marine transport stands today on this all-important topic and how it has progressed since we met here a year ago. Today, maritime transport contributes about 3% of global carbon output with diesel fuel powering ships. Now, there are many ways to reduce that output using incremental technologies, hull and propeller design, optimizing machinery operation, reducing friction by coatings or air injection. But that gets us, let's say, 10, 20%, maybe 30% reductions if we're smart. But that still leaves us at 2 to 2.5% of global carbon output. That's better for sure, but it's certainly not enough. And anyway, incremental improvements will be offset by expected increases in transport demand as global populations increase. We do need more to reach net zero. But let's accept the reality that whatever new technologies or fuels we develop, they will be more expensive than what we have today, much more expensive. I think that's really inevitable. Let's also accept that no company operating in the marine transport industry can afford to spend substantial premiums on new technology or fuels without some form of external intervention. Now, why is that? Over the long term, investments in marine transportation are decent, but not great, especially when you tally up the large capital investments required in long-term assets. Remember that the way to make $1 million in shipping is to start with 2 million. Of course, it depends on the market sector, but most shipping segments provide a commodity service, and studies have shown that long-term financial returns are in the range of 5 to 10% per annum, barely above the cost of capital, which is typically in the range of 5 to 7%, depending on the interest rate trends of the day. What that means is that no ship owner can afford the extra cost to get anywhere near zero unless every ship owner to get anywhere near net zero on carbon output, unless every ship owner is required to do the same, with that extra cost passed on to those who pay freight or charter hire. Now, that's how the industry made significant changes in the past. It happened in the 1980s with inert gas systems. It happened in the 1990s with double hulls in tankers. And it happened in the 2010s with low sulfur fuel. A good predictor of the pace of change is how fast the regulatory mechanisms are moving towards establishing this new regulatory framework. And here, unfortunately, is where I become pessimistic. The IMO MEPC just finished their last session in October, still discussing how best to move forward. There is still a wide divergence between countries on whether to adopt a complex emissions trading scheme or a carbon-based fee. Now, as far as the shipping industry is concerned, both approaches will achieve the goal of leveling the playing field, but it will be extraordinarily difficult to work out the details on this and then determine how best to pass those costs that will arise from those mechanisms onto those who employ their ships. When there is uncertainty, like we have now, most ship owners will not make radical or risky investments. They're going to invest in known technologies that move a little bit forward, but they're going to postpone radical decisions until when more is known. So we see a large increase today in LNG ship construction and also LNG bunkering services. That is a known technology that people are jumping on the bandwagon on more often than not. LNG improves over diesel in terms of the carbon output, but not that much, something on the order of 20%. And you have an issue with additional methane slip, which they're trying to solve now. But anyway, it doesn't get to net zero. And the other challenge, of course, we have is that oil companies support this incremental shift into LNG because, to be honest, it fits within their existing portfolios. They have a self-interest in maintaining that to the extent feasible, given the climate today. And so don't underestimate the impact or the power of oil companies in steering developments to their advantage as well. Now, enough about IMO's slow pace. We're here to talk about technologies that we can bring to market, starting our climb of this large decarbonization mountain. In this year's conference, wind has the largest number of papers again. As a free resource, it has a very compelling case. We do need to find ways to successfully scale it up for larger commercial use and for it to play a significant role in decarbonization altogether. Solar and electric are certainly viable today, more focused on niche applications. So the same challenge exists there. How can we scale these up to larger applications? This year, I don't see papers on nuclear power. We had one last year. But I do see that Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are investing big time in nuclear power. And it always pays to follow the money to see what comes next. I see one of them is even trying to reopen 3 Mile Island. So that's an interesting revisiting of history for those of us who have been around a little bit longer than our students. Now, Webb's role is to prepare students for this brave new world, not with all the answers, because none of us have those, but to give them the ability to ask the right questions and solve the problems that they'll face over the next 25 years and more, because that's the time scale we're talking about to get to net zero. Already today, in every ship design, our students must present viable options for low or no carbon propulsion. Our faculty has started a curriculum review, which will introduce new focus areas and new teaching approaches while retaining the core elements in ship design and engineering that enable our graduates to succeed in any field they choose. With new technologies comes growth in new companies, and that translates to career opportunities, both starting out and moving up the ladder faster. Employers are knocking on our doors. They are searching for the top engineering talent in the maritime world, and that drive is running strong. I wish I could be 22 and starting anew today. Thank you and have a great conference.